One happy Friday. We are joining for our part 2 session of Pragmatic AI for right here and right now. I'm Tina Schweiger with Martechify, and I'll be hosting your show today. We have two excellent experts who will be conducting some live demonstrations of both publicly available AI tools and some enterprise tools. Go to the next slide. We do the next, there we go. Before we get started, just real quickly, I just want to share a little bit about Martechify. We're a community of marketing technology leaders and experts who bring insights and expertise directly from real-world day-to-day experiences. So you can have better insights into what's going on in the marketing technology world. We'll go to the next slide. I'm excited to reintroduce our experts today. We have Tommi Marsans, our Associate Director of Business Transformation, Marketing Decisioning Science with Verizon Business Group. We have John McElhenney, Chief Marketing Officer of iterativ.ai. Our session today will go about 45 minutes, and if you can stay a little bit longer for Q&A, feel free to do so. After our Martechify chat session in February, we had a lot of requests for a follow-up session, and we're really happy to oblige, and today that is the follow-up session. We'll have demonstrations and discussions on 4 different tools. We're going to look at Perplexity for public use. You can go check that out. Anybody can access it. We're going to look over Copilot for how it integrates into enterprise environments. We'll switch back over to ChatGPT and look at some of the marketplace additions and add-ons that you can use in ChatGPT, and we will wrap it up with Einstein AI, which is an integration of Copilot into Salesforce. Without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to John McElhenney, who will get us started with an overview.
Hey, thanks everybody. I'm excited to be doing this again. We did have a lot of fun last time and opened probably more questions than we answered. So here we go again. We're going to dig in. What we're talking about again, we've been using the word pragmatic AI. And so I've built what I call the flow, which goes from left to right, which is when you think of generating traffic or driving business online. On the left, we have the demand funnel, or the top of the funnel. And underneath in the diamonds are the motions or activities that AI today, without a lot of fanfare, is really good at. You do have to know how to manage it and how to run it, but just playing around with AI, you'll get a long way along the path. And I just outlined a bunch of the motions in these 5 categories of the funnel. So the flow of the customer to join and buy something from your company goes from left to right on this slide. I'm going to go real quickly through them. This deck is available at the end of the show. It's going to be sent out. But a lot of the things that AI can do, it can do today for very low cost. We're going to look at Marketplace in a little bit, which is ChatGPT's paid version. I think it's $20 a month now to pay for ChatGPT. And inside the Marketplace are a whole ton of GPTs that people have built for very specific purposes, and they're really incredible. Today, I'm going to go through this really quickly, and then we're going to jump into a quick demo. So AI use in marketing, as we go from the funnel left to right, really quickly at the top of the funnel or demand gen, site design and content, generation and SEO, optimization, as well as campaign optimizations. Anyway, I'm not going to explain any of these because I won't get through them. Maybe I don't need to go through all of them. But the next steps are then your on-site engagement. So what are the customer goals, and how can we use AI to understand the traffic that's coming into our website, and are we achieving those goals? The third step is customer nurture. And so there are AI tools that will help you once you get that first email address or that first contact with someone on your website, how you follow up with them. Do you generate a drip campaign and put them on an email series? The fourth one is operations and efficiency. So actually within the marketing companies and within the companies, AI can be used for CRM purposes, outreach, better ad copy. It streamlines a lot of the processes. And then last, overall within a company, there are new motions that can be indicated by AI, such as feature requests or new creative ideas. That's where AI really does shine, in the ability to generate thousands of ideas quicker than a human can do. And we're going to get an example of that probably within the marketplace, how quickly AI can generate original ideas within the AI universe. Now I'm going to jump in to share Perplexity for a second. And we were hoping, everybody see my screen now? This is the just the opening screen of Perplexity for anybody. This is the free version. It's not they have a paid version now, but we thought we might take a topic or one of those slices of the funnel to do a little exploration with Perplexity, and I'm going to show you why it's a little different, and also why ChatGPT is about to offer their search engine tool, because everybody sees that this is going to take on Google in a big way, and that's why this company is way capitalized for search. So this is AI, and it's a search engine, and you'll notice the minute we ask it a question, it's going to be a little different than your previous AIs. Tina, you got a question for me, or do we have one we can just jump into? I'll make one up if we don't.
So anybody in the audience, if you have a topic or something that's on your mind, something you have to research, drop it into the chat real quickly, see if we can address a topic. And if not, then we will come up with one. Wave it, just give it 1 second.
Yep. I'm putting in a pre-wire in case we don't get a good one. I mean,
Okay.
we're going to get a good one, but yeah.
So I'm seeing lots of good mornings. Maybe there's a morning topic. What is the best sandwich cookie? We have one.
Well,
What is
we
the
could
best?
ask it that.
Yes.
It's going to have an opinion, I'm sure. I'll talk for a minute while we're waiting for the right question to appear. One of the things about AI that we all learned rather quickly is if it doesn't know the answer, it will make up the answer, right? And so there's this thing called AI hallucination, where it runs out of time on its search, but it wants to give you an answer as a user, so it's going to make something up. And sometimes it's bizarre, sometimes it's wrong. One of the things that Perplexity does that's very different, and why they changed the industry immediately when they launched, is once you start having the conversation with Perplexity, it does the AI thing, right? So it tries to give you the answer. But one of the things that Perplexity does that they're all going to start doing now is it gives all of its resources as direct links. So you can see where Perplexity got all of the information that it generated its answer from. And as you go through these questions, as we go through this demo, at the end, there's a little button up here once we get going that'll say share. And I will be able to share the entire thread, which is the whole conversation, but more importantly, all the backup links of all the data that was used in the entire conversation. So, and you can share that, you can turn it into a beautiful web page. It comes in markdown language, which is very easy to translate into HTML. But so Perplexity's goal is transparency about where it's getting the information, which is something that the other AIs are going to scramble to try to catch up with.
John, we have a couple questions to consider.
Great.
Other than sandwich cookie, the known 2014 F150 accelerator issues.
Okay.
That sounds like a car thing.
Yeah.
And then we have spending on leisure travel in the past 6 months among people earning less than 75,000 a year.
All right. Let's go with the second one.
Okay.
Maybe we could do the Tesla accelerator pedal problem. Okay. Spending on leisure.
Yeah, leisure travel in the past 6 months among people earning under 75K.
Past 6 months for people for income under 70K. And I'll go back and put annual in there. It's, you can get random on these, but the more you are specific in your prompts, the better your answers are going to be. So I'm adding annual in there, annual income under 70. Okay, so now Perplexity is going to do the same thing that any AI would normally do. It's going to generate what it thinks is the best answer. But what's cool and what I love about it is up here are all the sources, right? So if I read one of these statements, about 10% of their income on travel for someone under making, that's about $7,000 a year on travel. So that's pretty good, right? It immediately jumped us down. That answer is about 10% is their budget. And then here we go with some other, here's an ARP survey that it used. One of the things AI is also really good at is it will then come up with some follow-up answers that the AI thinks would be your next question, right? They may not have it right for what we want. This is how to budget. What are some affordable travel options? How to find discount travel. That's not exactly, I'm assuming we're taking a marketing stance on this. So my next question might be something like, how do I reach the low cost leisure travel audience or customer? Let's see, did I get that wrong? I did.
And you can leave your misspellings too.
Yeah, it'll figure that out, but I usually let Grammarly do its thing. So now, here we've got, it's going to start trying to give me ideas now. If that were really my question from a business standpoint, it's going to give me the first round of information is what is that market and how much is that money? And now it's going to try to give me the answer for how to reach strategies for how to reach those $70,000 income travelers. Let's do one more question on Perplexity. Let's see. This is a good one. So what are some popular low-cost leisure travel destinations? That's more my question, right? Oh, great. So where do we want to send them when we do this marketing campaign? San Antonio, hit the Riverwalk. That's good. Miami, Florida. No, thank you. New Orleans and Portland, Maine. So there we go. Again, one of the really amazing things to do with AI, and I recommend it for everybody on this call, is go spend some time. They're all different. They all have a slightly different way of answering questions and thinking. The part about Perplexity that I was mentioning that I really love is right here. If I hit this share button, I can create a shareable link. I can just blast it right now to Twitter or Facebook, but I can copy this link now and perhaps share it with my client, maybe that I'm working on with this travel. They want to figure out what kind of travel to promote. So now I create basically the research history with all of its sources, and that's invaluable. So the work that we just did as a demo in 3 or 4 minutes is now creating an artifact that can become a research portal for jumping off and solving this marketing question in the real world, again, with a free tool that generates a free shared link that you can then jump off from. And any of these links will take you further down the rabbit hole, right? So you can go further down those links and come back. But anyway, I think that's a pretty good overview of Perplexity. Big fan, big funding. They just got another round, and Google's already starting to add some of this in. And then ChatGPT has announced they have a search product. I believe they're going to announce next week. So everybody woke up, like ChatGPT woke us all up to the GPT world. Perplexity woke everyone up to AI as a search engine instead of just a co-pilot to a search engine.
And
so that's what's really different.
Before we break off of this, there's a question from the audience about, is there a perfect prompt that to put in? That might be another a big topic. But
Yeah.
just maybe we can hold that until.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the thing I want to say about that though is you will learn prompt tricks. Once you start doing this, you'll learn little phrases and things you can add into your prompt that will give you closer to the results you want. There's no perfect prompt, and but there's a lot of research into better prompts and how to do better prompts. And actually, this is a really ninja trick. We could ask Perplexity how to create a better prompt for AI for leisure travel, and it will come back and tell you how to ask the question better. I mean, anyway, the rabbit hole gets very deep once you start jumping and asking those kind of questions.
Oh, thanks so much. Right now, we're going to switch over to Tommy, who will tell us a little bit about co-pilots in the enterprise space.
So, I want to thank everybody for spending their lunch with me. I know that that's precious time out of your Friday, so I appreciate that. Kind of playing off that prompt question and a little bit of what we were doing in Perplexity. Imagine you had that capability within a particular tool for your company. So it could be small, medium, or even enterprise. And so I went out and looked at some Copilot examples. Now, Copilot is a term, like AI is a term. It's not necessarily a product all of the time, but sometimes it can be a product name. And what it is kind of, and sometimes it's called a buddy as well. It is basically an ongoing chat that you're having with your AI. Now, that AI could be open sourced or it could be sourced based on your data. So let's take Salesforce Einstein, for example. You can start asking it questions around your customers that are in your either customer base or your opportunities. You can go look at some of the pre-configured content that you might have and you might want to send to your customers. That's kind of like a sales example. If you wanted to use AI in a completely different way, outside of marketing, or even if you wanted to start building some code, there's the same kind of concept in GitHub. And that actually helps you write code to build applications that you could then put buddies into, right? And Microsoft actually names theirs Copilot. This is their sales tool. You can, again, use open source. You can use your own content. And then Adobe, I tried to pick things that people were kind of familiar with that they might be using on a day-to-day basis, regardless of size. And Adobe Firefly, right? Again, building content, building imagery, and not just kind of looking at sales or marketing. That buddy is at the bottom and can help you generate images. So we talked a little bit about hallucinations and
Tommy, can I pause you just for a second because I just wanted to mention that the GitHub Copilot was a game changer, and they were ahead of most of the other companies. So the coding world, coders and code generators are really into understanding AI, and GitHub is the repository where all the code comes and goes. So their first Copilot was revolutionary, and I'm sure that any coders on this call are already using it because it's phenomenal. So anyway.
yeah, that again, that goes back to kind of those prompts, right? You get as good as you give. And so in some of these cases, when you configure it for what your application is, it gets a little bit more specific. You can guess at that, right? You can basically build a prompt and with natural language, and you can recommend that prompt in these Copilot embodies. So just a little bit, I'm going to back up just a little bit about the different types of AI. So there is generative AI. That's what we've been talking about. You type in a prompt and it gives you fully unique, bespoke answers, images, whatever. And then there is good old fashioned AI. And what that means is that is an approach to looking at large amounts of data and filtering it down to digestible, specific actions. So you may want to say, okay, of all of my customers, which ones look like they might be buying my product today? And that's kind of a targeted, very specific use of good old fashioned AI. And then there's something called weak AI, and it's not weak. It's just the adoption of it is a little bit different than, say, generative, which is more complex. And it is purpose built for a specific outcome. Now, in these co-pilots, you can have all three of those. You can have a specific outcome kind of AI. It could be who is going to buy this product at this price today, or what product at what price is this customer going to do. So it can be very specific, and that's called weak AI. And then you can have some of these generative things, but you get to manage that within, say, Salesforce or the Microsoft Sales tool into your experience with your kind of buddy or your co-pilot. So that's what I wanted to share because it's actually natural language. So you could be fooled to think that there's intelligence behind there, but I also want to just point out AI is not intelligent. It's not self-reflective. It can act like it is, but it is not. So don't get scared. But it does feel like a chat.
Yeah, don't be worried.
Okay.
RoboCop is a bit further away.
We're
Yeah.
gonna, yeah, and that was really great about Copilot. And John, do you want to jump right into the extra things that you can do on GPT if you're a paying member?
Yeah. So is everybody, am I back on my share here?
Mhm.
So if you can use Chat GPT for free, which most people do. Once you pay, and I think it's $20 a month. It was a little bit less, but I think it's $20 now. There's a lot more that you can do. Not only can you start creating your own GPTs. I can show you one my son worked on, but I won't show it. But this is a custom GPT that we built for a client. Um, but once you're paying, you can start saving areas and saving threads and saving projects that you're working on. What OpenAI released 6 or 9 months ago is what's called the marketplace. So once you're a paid customer, you're $20 a month, you can get to this, which says explore GPTs. And what we have here are thousands of GPTs that have been custom written for very specific tasks. And you can see here across the top, we have writing, productivity, research and analysis, education, lifestyle, Dolly, which is their image generation tool, and then programming, coding. Um, I have some ideas what might be fun, but do we have anybody with a burning desire to sort of direct us into one of these research? All right, look at that. It came right through. I saw the prompt. Where did that
Research.
come from?
We also have a question. I don't know if this is something that has a category for it, which is looking for search ad trends across North America in the travel industry to build on that previous one. Is that something that a specific question like that the marketplace is good for, or is it?
I think
like-
that's back to perplexity. I think I would go back and really start refining and diving in with perplexity to get, because perplexity is going to take you to the sources. We don't know what we're going to get once we get into one of these. So rather than go too far down into more research, is there a GPT for HubSpot? I bet there is.
There
HubSpot
is.
is a very powerful tool.
It's like a co-pilot. Yeah, there
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What I thought would be kind of fun, since we're so text based right now, is to do really quick, is to look at this one. Well, actually, let me pause. This is an interface to Dolly, which is their image generator. So you need to whip up a quick logo for your new company. I'll just use mine, iterative.
I can't wait to see what it comes up with. I've never
AI.
tried this one.
Yeah. And so you can do this inside Dolly without any help, but this GPT is just going to walk you through so you don't have to even understand the prompt, right? I just want a new logo. My company's called Iterative AI. It starts asking me questions about what I want it to look like. Vibrant, neutral, or serious. We're going to go for serious. So it's just asking me a few prompts. Clean or simple or extremely complex. I'm going to go 3 on that. Keep it simple. And I'm going to let it generate the palette. What? Why is it asking me again? Oh, custom color. All right, let's go with blue and gold. One single, oh, nine. Let's go with B. So now it's going to go out and it's going to do the generative work, and it's going to build me 9 different logos for my new company. There's tons of these, so you don't need to do it inside these GPTs. I just think it's amazing how quickly AI can generate ideas with color, text, images. It's fast. Here are a few, right? These are very stylized. You can see they kind of look like AI to me. Um, but one of the things I do is I use AI, like when I've come up with a new article or things like that, just for that opening graphic. You can go off and create things with these logo generators in, what did it take us, 2 minutes? And if I just, I'm looking for a promotional piece, one of these might work, right? So I just click this and say, okay, this is the one I want. There's probably a tool to actually generate it. Anyway, I really stress the biggest part of it is going in here and exploring it and playing with the AIs, because they are all different. And I think there's 4 major ones with a fifth, which is out there. Chat GPT is the big baby that everybody knows. But I also really think you need to play with Gemini, which is the Google AI. It's the one that's going alongside your Google search now. It's incredible. Claude is one of the ones that I use all the time. And then Perplexity is the one we saw, which is slightly different. But you watch, they're all going to come out with Perplexity competitors. It's all coming, because you can see if we can have a conversation with AI and generate a resource for everybody to use later for research and development, it's phenomenal. Anyway, thank you.
Awesome. I just leaning into that a little bit, there was a question from SG, or a comment that it's asking strategic questions. And that is a great segue into this. AI as a service for the enterprise. Now you can scale this down and think about what's happening behind the scenes in a copilot, or you can expand this out to that good old fashioned AI, or what we call weak AI, for a specific purpose. So you take all of the data that you have in these disparate data sources and you push it into your AI layer, right? So that could be um, any AI tool. We happen to use Pega. There is, as we saw, a couple of different tools with like Senpai, for example, in Adobe. There are those kinds of tools that act as a layer, this kind of service layer for AI. And then you take all of that and you say, okay, within this service layer, I want to do this for sales, this for service, this for content generation, this for our customer hubs or our customer portals, and this for marketing. And it uses the same context for all of that. So the context could be the customer profile. What are they propense to do? What images do they respond to? Let's just say what learner pages they were just on. So, what products are they searching? Did they call into the call center? Do they have complaints? What marketing channels do they respond to more frequently? Stuff like that informs the entire enterprise then. So you use these very specific actions, but it has the same context, and that would be your internal context. You can then start to layer in some third-party data that gives you some expansion to that. So it's not just your first party or zero party data. It can be enhanced like that. But when you get into that kind of contextual recommendations, contextual AI, you do want to get some clarifying questions, right? So let's say you have an opportunity with a particular customer and you're going into Salesforce, you're going into your sales tool, whatever that is. And you say, okay, what is this company likely to purchase? It will ask you, well, I don't know the size of that company. Can you tell me the size of that company? And you type in the size, and then it goes, okay, was the conversation about laptops or is the conversation about self-driving cars? And it starts to ask those kind of contextual questions to get you down to a very specific answer because it is thinking through and making decisions around what to include and what to kind of carve away. Those questions start to carve away all of the thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of possibilities down to a few that work really well for that situation. So I would think about AI in the way that John is sharing. When you're going in and you're looking for generative stuff, you can create content very quickly. It's very good at that. You can use a co-pilot that is either embedded in the tool that you have, or you can enhance it. But there are different approaches. And so when you start to layer these approaches up, you can see how knowing what a customer is doing over here, interacting with your company over here that you may not be paying attention to, has an impact over here because we tend to think of actions in silos. Think about the way that we thought about marketing, I don't know, 5 years ago. Segment based, time bound, uh, and very specific. This can become very dynamic, right? So you could say, I would have given them that offer yesterday, but because they were looking at that product today, I'm going to give them that offer or make that recommendation. And so it becomes contextual. So that's what I kind of wanted to share with everybody. That is a very kind of high level use case, but it's what's possible. So you can start at the very fundamental and you can begin building your own kind of stack with actions and outcomes. And it will learn. It will learn if you do this, that AI service will learn and make those recommendations proactively. Yeah.
So, Tommy, let me ask you a question about your slides. So this service that you're talking about is something that you've actually built within Verizon to do these motions across all of your data, across all of these pieces of the process, which is amazing.
And
Uh,
it's not uncommon for most large enterprises to do this.
yeah. And
What
that's
is
a, go ahead.
What's very cool is that that is beginning to become more democratized so that the smaller companies can begin using this concept.
Yeah. And the question was about, can you use these tools? And in your circumstance within the enterprise, you're not allowed to start throwing stuff into Chat GPT because Chat GPT sucks the data in and puts it in its LLM. So a lot of these are free, but you can't, like Tommy is prevented from using some of these tools from within her enterprise. She has to wait till the weekend. And that's on
Nights and
purpose,
weekends.
right?
I noticed that you didn't say nights. That's fairly accurate.
No, I
I
don't
don't
want you to be
necessarily have my
working on
nights
it.
to do it, but yeah, so that there's a trade-off, right? If you're going to use a lot of data to input, you're going to use open source, but you're going to have to contribute data to that open source. If you want to restrict the data, it gets very specific to your company, but then you're only looking at
Yeah.
your data. So it becomes very biased. And so you have to really think about that bias internally. And that's when transparency versus opacity in, how you got there becomes very important when somebody comes knocking on your door asking about ethical AI.
Yeah. And that's if everybody's seen the new Matthew McConaughey ads for Salesforce, that's their pitch, right? Is that entire layer at the bottom of your slide, which was your data, right? Is Verizon's gold. That is your gold. And the question that Salesforce asks and McConaughey asks is in the wild, wild west of AI, who's using or protecting your data?
That's an interesting thing for a Salesforce to say, by the way, because
Right.
they have kind of co-op of contacts. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that as well. But it is that's a very good point. That is the secret sauce for most companies,
Yeah.
and
Does
you
that
want
bring
to be
risks with it? We had a question from the audience about the risks associated with AI, and I would say that there should be some in the public space, but in the enterprise space, I'm curious about as well.
Yeah.
so I would say the biggest two risks are built-in bias that you're not aware of. You do things the way that you do things, and if you just make them happen faster with AI, you could get yourself into trouble, right? So there are kind of tests and proofs that are beginning to be built by ethical AI groups. You can go to Justice League, not the, you know, that Justice League, but there's an AI Justice League that will give you some tests to make sure that you're being ethical. And then the second risk, I would say, is um, automating the wrong things, trying to focus on the wrong things. If you're focused on just generating revenue, your AI is going to learn from that. And this is sometimes called the paperclip paradigm. If you say, I want to maximize the revenue that I get from this customer, it will lower your cost to the bottom of the barrel and try to push as much product in there. So you want to balance that with, okay, but I want to make some money too. So, keep the margin relatively good. It will maximize whatever you tell it to maximize. So you have to build in some intelligence that is a business lever layer that says, I want to do this, but I also want to be mindful of that and that and that. And so that's when it becomes really magic, when you start really thinking about that kind of, I want to do this over here, but I want to do this over here, and I want to make sure that these are some universal constants. And I think those are the two biggest risks. And then John Fiedler, thank you, John. Can Pega be, this is an internal question, by the way, can Pega be integrated into these AI applications and vice versa? Yes, it's data sharing. AI is an approach. So it's not limited to a particular application. It's an approach to things. So as long as it's sharing data, absolutely.
And Tommy, from a Verizon standpoint and the enterprise standpoint, can you give a quick definition of ethical AI?
Yes. Um, I want to kind of boil this down in a way that's not too complex. Um, you want to make sure that you're not excluding or privileging any particular groups because of the algorithm. Some of the ways in which this is manifest in the marketplace is HR. If you have AI, go look for resumes for a particular position within your company, and your company tends to have a certain face, it will start looking for that face amongst all of those resumes. So that's the kind of thing that you have to be cautious of. That's sort of ethics in AI. There's a second level of ethics, which is do no harm. And this is the paperclip thing. If you maximize and say, I want to make as many paper clips as possible, the thought exercise is that it will start to break down every atom it can find to make a paperclip, and then you no longer exist because you've been made into a paperclip because you've optimized for that. So there are kind of two levels to that ethics. Yeah. So
And
there's
that's part of the main reason that you're not allowed to use OpenAI, because their ethics and what they do with your data is unknown, right? And so you can't put a Verizon piece of data in there and expect it to be respected. And therefore, the ethics require you not to be able to use the public AIs for Verizon's work. It makes total sense.
also vice versa. There's no way to guarantee that you aren't violating somebody's copyright.
Yeah, yeah.
And Tommy, do you want to go over the one more slide about how it's embedded, integrated with Salesforce?
Well, yeah. So I
Okay.
think this is really interesting because I think it will help everybody really bring this down to an example. So let's say I'm not sharing. Gabrielle, can you share? Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I
Bring
gotta
the
be able to
slide
put up
back.
Remember,
our last slide. Yeah.
I'm not great at that. So you take all this stuff. So John's giving you all this stuff that you can go to the marketplace and look at. So that's great. Now what? You can leverage all of these different pieces to inform your webpage, your marketplace, your own presence within the digital sphere. Um, You can have it have any voice, flavor, whatever you want. You can personalize, so this becomes hyper personalized. So it will look different for me than it will for John, than it will for Tina, than it will for anyone, right? And so you get this personalized image. You go to my image bank and you get that personalized image. You get prioritized actions. I've looked across the enterprise, or I've looked across my sales tool, and I've seen what are the prioritized actions for that customer. The propensed offers, and this is getting into a little bit of modeling and algorithms, but just think about these as the most likely to be bought. And then you can customize the message as well. So I might like something fun and lighthearted. John could have had this, he wanted a more serious, say, logo. So he might want more serious business type language. And so the entire experience becomes personalized and feels very familiar to your customers, and they don't know that AI is behind that. Here's the rub. We all expect this now. We've all been into Amazon and we expect it.
Yeah.
And so if you're not doing this, you probably should.
And the answer to the do you need a CMS? Yes, to build your websites on the fly requires a CMS, but AIs today can literally build an entire website out of a single prompt. I mean, the whole website. It's for $20 a month, you can have a website in about 10 minutes.
To drink from a database?
To drink? What?
Yeah, Laura Stevenson
drink.
said,
Oh, might
Access
be able to
data.
drink from a
oh,
database.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it might be able to pull little bits like
Yeah.
I want to know this from that database rather than I've already pre-pulled that entire
Yep.
profile in and just go kind of dip into wherever it needs to go. And it's a little more, it's less static and much more dynamic, like the cloud.
Nice.
We do have one more slide. Can we switch to that one?
Nope,
Q&A.
it's the
That was the
Q&A.
last one. Before we jump into Q&A, do we have any wrap-up thoughts
Funny.
from you guys? But we do have a few questions in the thread. So
Great. Well, again, I've spent a lot of time chatting with the different AIs. It's a cool experience. Go try them, play around, learn which ones you like. I know that my son's a Chat GPT fanatic. I really love Perplexity and Claude, but go find what works for you and start learning what tools that are out there that are at $20 a month for Chat GPT Pro, and just start educating yourself and growing your knowledge of AI and what it can do. Make sure you're ethical and make sure you don't use the public ones when you're in an enterprise space sharing data into those.
any last thoughts, Tommy?
Well, I was just going to answer. Chad had a question out there, and I think it's a good one. What's the difference between personalization and AI-driven stuff? Personalization is more segment-based, so you have a profile that you kind of look alike, and so I've got these 10, and this one fits best for that person. AI-driven is completely configurable. You got 100 different configurations that you could have, and you pick from the different pieces to compile a very bespoke experience.
And we got there, right? We got there with Chat GPT announcing these co-pilots, these basically ask me a question, I'm gonna give you the answer, and you can add those right into your website right now, right? So the AI chat that can look only at your data and your website and begin to define the journey through someone's interaction with an AI rather than the navigation of your website.
And I would say the big difference between personalization and AI, to be honest, when you're talking about any problem, is the amount of outcomes that you could have. If you have 5 products and 2 offers, you don't need AI. It's not gonna, there's nothing for it to really do.
Right.
If you have hundreds of products and lots of variable things that you could have. That's when you want to start using AI, when there's hundreds or thousands or millions of outcomes and you really want to narrow it down.
Yep. Great question, though.
Yeah, before we wrap up, there's a lot of folks that'll probably have to drop, and I'll just make a few closing remarks and then we can hang out for a little bit more Q&A if you're able to. Before we go though, we just to thank you for your time and joining. I know it's not always easy to get away and break away from what you're doing, so we do appreciate it. Just like us on LinkedIn, visit our brand new website, martechify.com. We've gotten a lot of upgrades. Be sure to sign up for updates, share with your colleagues, consider contributing your expertise. If you're interested in being an expert here, we have a lot of opportunities and I encourage you to reach out. And then that's my spiel, but let's get back to a couple more questions. If you're able to stay, please do.
Yeah. Yeah. So great question from Lorena is, can you use AI to help customize that personalization? Absolutely. It can build, more and more pathways that might be used in personalization, and it doesn't have to be AI generated on the fly, but figuring out how to prompt, how to ask the right questions of Chat GPT, that's 90% of the problem, is just how to ask it. And you can actually ask it how to ask it, right? You can ask it how to build a better prompt for personalization for your website, and it'll start giving you the prompt itself. And you just go in and replace your things. So AI will inform you about how to use AI if you just start asking the AI.
And one of the questions actually is kind of along those lines, is there guidance on which of these AI tools are free versus paid? And what are the costs? And should you just ask AI to generate a list for you of those?
Yeah,
you should.
I think that's, do that.
Yeah, do that. And use Perplexity and it'll give you all the links. But yeah, I mean, Chat GPT is still pretty far and away ahead of the others, unless you're using something specific like Perplexity for search. The tools within Chat GPT for $20 a month, the ability to build your own GPTs and access all these that people have already built, will go a long way towards educating you and figuring out all the uses that you can create these sort of bots and LLMs and things like that for your business.
I would say, I'm going to give you a very consultant answer. It depends. A lot of these are purpose built for a specific outcome. And if you have a specific need, I would go into that marketplace and look at those that have that specific need. There is that filter across the top, and whether it's paid or free, again, just depends on what it is that you want it to do. There was a scientific question that I wanted to get to.
Oh, nice.
Because I love science. With a smaller sample size, you get less reliable results. With a large sample size, you get more reliable results just because you have more examples of that. With machine learning, you don't need the large sample size. It learns like humans do. It starts making some assumptions about things. So behind AI is something called machine learning, and you don't need those thousands of outcomes to figure out what to do next. It tests. It kind of goes, "Hey, John, is that the right answer?" And John goes, "Nope, not the right answer." It goes, "Okay, I'm not going to do that again. Let me test this. Is that the right answer?" John's like, double thumbs up. That's good. So it does these little experiments on the fly. So it doesn't need this big sample size. And for me, that's the magic, right? I don't have to go get millions of records to train a model, to train the algorithm. It learns like we do. Like, think of a 3-year-old trying to figure out what a cat is. Is it furry? Does it have 4 legs? Does it have pointed ears? And does it go meow? And then how does it take that? And it goes, okay, those are all cats. But what about a tiger? Is that a cat? And so it begins to learn because it makes some assumptions about those characteristics. So it's really interesting machine learning. Again, I could go down that rabbit hole, but just think you do not need a large sample size. And that's what makes it really fun for me. And yes, you can make changes on the fly, like John said. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that covers our questions, and we're great on timing. So if there's any other questions, pop them in, but I do want to just go back to our announcement slide. We will have a deep dive coming up in the fall. We're anticipating to do a series of sessions on ABM, account-based marketing, in the fall of 2024. So sign up for our updates. We'll probably have some more sessions in between, and we'll keep you posted on that as well. So thank you, Tommi. Thank you, John. Thanks, Rich, and the rest of the Ascend team and all of our Verizon friends who've shown up today. We really appreciate your time. We hope that you're getting a lot out of this, and stay engaged. We love to hear from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Have a great weekend.
So what do they